Choosing a technology or staffing consultant to help you find and deploy a new project or staffing solution? No small task. All too often, the future of your business relies on your ability to make the right decision. Not so much about the technology being used or staff expertise needed, but the consulting partner you choose to provide the service. Greetings, everyone, and welcome from the Technology Association of Georgia. It's Tuesday, August 9th, 2016, and this is Tech Talk. I'm your host, Frank Baia. Up to the Tech Talk, choosing a consultant. Why it's crucial before deploying an unfamiliar technology or hiring an unfamiliar new key member of your staff to get familiar with the consultants in your market. Consider the different types of services that each type of consultant can provide, ask for references, and check out only those consultants that appear to be a good fit for your business. Of course, it sounds logical, yet often it's very confusing and overwhelming when the future of your business relies on what you ultimately decide. Reality? Cost is not only the only factor when implementing a new technology. After all, you can't put a price on trust, which is the key to building a successful business relationship with any consultant. Here to explore the question on choosing a technology or staffing consultant, we speak with Jim Kolassa, Vice President of Atlanta-based global software solutions leader, Paramount Software. Jim is a recognized thought leader and result relationship top professional, earned an MBA and went on to work at IBM, Hitachi Data Systems, started a software application development company, and was formerly with Compaq HP Channel as a distributor and a reseller in the private-public sectors. Paramount Software Solutions brings 20 years of IT services, solutions, and staffing globally to public and private and commercial enterprises. As a certified minority supplier, they have crafted specific solutions with established technologies for hundreds of clients, small, medium, and large, locally here in Atlanta and worldwide, to effectively solve staffing, technology, software, cloud, as well as data and storage management challenges. They were awarded the Fast 100 Asian American businesses and one of the best and brightest places to work in 2016. Paramount's reputation is unmatched as one of the top solutions providers for mitigating data latency and dramatically accelerating data security economically over client-wide area networks. Up to the Tech Talk, choosing your consultant, and why you don't need to become knowledgeable in all of the different technologies or talent available. Hey, that's why you're hiring a consultant in the first place. Discover more as we Tech Talk the biggest decision you'll ever make when building your business with top industry leader and Vice President of Paramount Software, Jim Kolassa. This edition of Tech Talk is brought to you by GlobalSpeak.com, new media consultants, corporate video and audio communications, video and audio production and distribution, live and virtual event production. Tag TV and Tag Radio is a service of GlobalSpeak.com, creatively delivering powerful marketing, video, and audio solutions. Jim, welcome to Tech Talk.
Hello, Frank. Thank you. It's great to be on the program today.
Pretty dynamic subject, a lot to talk about. Hopefully we can get some really good information for our listeners that are involved in some of the issues that I think we're going to be getting into, things like consulting services and network implementation and support, custom software development, and the whole technology area of solutions. Most people are not that familiar with the reality that much of this stuff, this disruption has been going on for a long time, but there are actually a lot going on in terms of finding the right kind of talent and the right kind of people to kind of fill in the blanks and not only provide support but actually provide leadership. So why don't we talk a little bit about that? Let's talk about first the general area of the disruption technology and how much it's changing, but maybe specifically a lot of people talk about how difficult it is to find and keep good people. Maybe go into a little bit of that as well.
Oh, we can actually. Those are great terms that are on our list every day to talk about. Disruptive technology has a couple different definitions. You know, just traditionally, it's technology that goes in and really shakes up the way people do some traditional things. And but it's really come to be this is technology that is doing something new and different, cheaper, faster, that usually the big name software companies don't allow. And there's lots of different examples of that. But it's traditionally things that, you know, when people went to the cloud the first time, it was a big, new, disruptive technology, and now it's kind of mainstream. But there's still, within that structure and within that capability, there's many things to talk about and some specific technologies in that.
Well, let's go into some of the area as it relates to finding. I mean, obviously, it is about quality, it is about productivity, but in the long run, it's also about affordability. Let's talk a little bit about how that goes about. How do you find if I'm a first-generation entrepreneur, I'm a business executive in a fairly mid-sized to large corporation, know kind of the standard operating procedures for searching and looking for individuals of one kind or another, but I don't seem to be getting the right people to come to the table and finding the right solution for my particular need or the particular project at hand. Is there some formula or magic dust, or is it just something that you gain over an experience through trial and error? How does that all happen?
Well, it's a combination of all the above. I think primarily the biggest issue when you come to things is really, defining and understanding what you need to know, but also be willing to change. One of the issues is that we've in the IT world is that we keep on doing the same thing over and over and over again. And the Einstein theory of insanity is doing the same thing over again until and thinking you get a different result. One of the things that we kind of we've seen in the industry, there is a shortage of talent. And so one of the things that somebody wants to have in the talent space is somebody that does everything. So what you're looking at for now when you bring in from a staffing perspective is you want somebody that can come in and run the universe as well as take the tape off the tape library. I think one of the things that people need to do is be very specific about what they're looking for and asking for, and then making sure that's brought into the program. But that's from a staffing standpoint. From a technology standpoint, that's even another discussion.
Well, I'm looking at it maybe from a strategic standpoint, I guess at this level, because I'm guessing that some of the actual technical capability is somewhat certified or can be at least identified. Do you guys, how do you establish, I mean, is there we would say maybe an analysis of some kind of situation analysis, or is it specifically a request from, say, a potential client that says, I'm looking for A, or do you actually go in and analyze the entire situation and say, from a, say, creative or strategic standpoint, here's some solutions you might want to think about?
Well, we do it both ways. On the staff augmentation, somebody comes up and says, here's my requirements. So one of the things we do as a practice is go in and try to really help them define what that is. Of those 14 things you've asked for, what are the most important to you? And then within either in our group or the folks that we're looking at, we'll do our background checking, talk to the references, see what certifications they might have to fulfill that. From a technology standpoint, that's a bit different because what most people from a technology have bought stuff and are implementing things that are perhaps even 10 years old. And for them to want to go in and change and make that disruptive change, that takes somebody who's willing to step up and willing to try to make a difference rather than sit back and saying, no, don't touch it. I don't want to. I want to come in at 10 and leave at 3, but don't really call me because I don't really want to be involved in that. And that's where some of the disruption from both the staffing and the solutions is coming from.
Well, I kind of drifts into something that you hear a lot about today, and that's culture, the culture of a particular business. Your company, I'm sure, has a culture, and how you look at things not only from a capability standpoint, philosophical, I guess might be another word. How does that interrelate when you're talking to other people? Is that something you analyze? Is it a case where it's a quote-unquote a conservative culture, or one that's more a little, as maybe dating myself by saying hip? I don't think they call it hip anymore, but something that's more. I can't even say segue. I'm kind of finding out what's cool, but one of those environments where there's a little bit more lax in environment and maybe a higher quality of life, or certainly a dynamically different environment as far as the work environment is concerned. Do you deal with that at all? Do you face the reality that not everybody has the same culture, and that there's got to be a kind of a match between the talent and the company in terms of that issue as well?
Well, that's one of the things that you go through when you're talking to somebody, especially when you're selling solutions and selling staff augmentation, is you try to understand what the corporate cultures are. I mean, what we found over in our environment is that what we've tried to do is maintain, in terms of staff augmentation, is maintain the same talent for a long time. That's why one of the things that we're proud of is that we have our average retention in Paramount is 3 times the national average, meaning we take care of the people we work with. Mm-hmm. So one of the things we want to make sure we do is when we do put somebody in a position, that position isn't going to be one that they can't fulfill. It's one that they can't succeed in, because that's very, very important to me. And that's one of the things that drew me to Paramount in particular. From a culture of change or disruption, so many of the large corporations are siloed in what they're doing. They have a hard time changing, because if I change something here, it's going to change these other things. And getting those people to all agree upon things is sometimes very very difficult, to say the least. You have the differences between the people that are doing application development and then the traditional IT infrastructure.
Right.
I mean, those two are very separate things, because what a person from application development has certain needs in terms of being able to test and deploy and to scale and to do the whole life cycle application. And your IT infrastructure might give you a little test environment there, but an IT infrastructure is set up to really maintain the production of their applications. It's not really so much worried about, am I meeting the requirements in the application developers world. So there's changes in that environment that's coming about. And it'll be interesting to see who's going to be adopting the concept of things like DevOps.
Right.
And that's something that we're very much focused on and seeing where the industry's taken us.
Well, let's go into that a little bit, because I think it's a subject that we often say semantics don't keep up with the evolution of technology. Everything changes so quickly, but DevOps is a term you're hearing more and more and more, DevOps. Maybe go into a little bit about what you're seeing as far as that space is concerned now and, say, in the next couple of months.
Absolutely. And things like you hit it on the head, too. Things go in full cycle. And many times we do the same thing as we did 10, 20 years ago, and I won't go beyond that. But we call it something different. But right now, DevOps is basically what is the IT platform, the infrastructure, the provisioning, the maintenance, monitoring of it that is necessary for an application development team and individual to be the most efficient, to bring out the code. And when the code is actually delivered, that there's the ability to patch it and manage it and make sure that it's operationally correct. So what people are doing are creating separate development operation solution sets that will allow you to use a combination of infrastructure that's on your own sites and provisioning to the cloud, but then giving you the management and the structure within the application development cycle itself, that you're doing it right, that it's secure, that it is cost justifiable. Because what's happening, and I think this is what's driving this as much as anything, is that the application development teams, in order to get what they need, are just going out and start buying a little Amazon, a little SoftLayer, a little rack space, a little space, and all of a sudden they're realizing they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. But what they're missing, though, is what's on the infrastructure side. Typically, is what is the security of it? What is the how am I implementing it? How have I backed it up? How do I really utilize that? So, what the DevOps is going to provide individual firms with is the ability to manage that environment, still give the application development team all the tools to be robust and agile and bring software out quickly and make sure it's meeting our performance requirements, but not disrupting the IT typical production infrastructure stuff. And hopefully, just like everything else, you can't buy anything, or you're not going to buy anything or sell anything today unless it fixes the problem or saves you money. And those are before you evaluate something, that's where you need to take it down to. What are we spending now in our to support our application development staff and team? And what, if we make the changes and go to a DevOps platform, what do we save? What's our cost savings? How much faster can we get something out? And so many things. Sorry, go on. No, it's like so many things. We're all so busy. Sometimes if we get caught up in the minutiae of what we're doing, we forget that we actually need to go through that cycle every couple of years, every couple of months sometimes, and say, is the way we're doing it the right way, the most efficient, the most justifiable way?
Well, I think that I'm trying to remember ever being in a CFO's office that it didn't say, are you here to save me money or here to make me money? And I think that's really kind of what it more often than not boils down to, or at least it should at some point or another. Let's talk about something else that's kind of a hot issue right now, and it's been one for a while, and that's the U.S. visa process. especially the H-1B non-immigrant visa. Can you tell us, maybe from your perspective, give us a little insight into what you think is going on there and what's going to be in the near and a little bit into the next year?
Well, that's as a little plug for what we're doing with TAG and the U.S. Pan-Asian American Chamber of Commerce. We're going to actually have a panel on this it's November 16th. So check out the TAG scene and you're going to see this, because it is a very controversial subject that has a lot of myths and a lot of misunderstanding and a lot of costs associated with it. The H-1B program, and Paramount is a purveyor of that. We're very involved in that process, so we understand the good, bad, and the ugly with it. But what's very interesting is that once every year, the government allows 65,000 new immigrants to come in through this visa. Now, to get this visa, you have to have a special talent that isn't readily available, and you have to be able to prove it. And then once you've proved it, what they do is then you are going to go through a filing fee, and they're going to look through your records to make sure you're doing it. It costs a firm $7,000 to $8,000 just to file it. But what's interesting, what caught my attention, is that there's literally 300,000 to 400,000 people that have these unique skills, not just in IT, but they could be in engineering and healthcare. Over 300,000 to 400,000 people want to come over into America to do the work here. But what we do is every year we take those 300,000 to 400,000 names, put it into a lottery system, and not based on what is the actual needs that we have, but based on who's the first 65,000 names we pull out of the hat. Those are the ones that we're going to give the visa to. So the controversy comes around not only how are we getting it, what's the cost involved with it, but then also some of the myths around it. What is it doing to the workforce overall? And I think we're going to TAG, and the U.S. PAC is putting together a panel of IT professionals, both then bringing people in from the U.S. government to talk about it. And we'll have a panel discussion on to really explain what it is and what's the benefit and what things might need to be changed, because this is very controversial. I mean, the term integration anymore, people will definitely have very strong opinions on it. But here's one that we can very quickly bring all the facts to the surface, and that's what we'll be doing on November 16th.
Well, that's what's important, I think, is getting the information. I think, unfortunately, most of the time, it's kind of street legend, or we hear about it, we really don't know. And so here's a great opportunity, I think, for a lot of our listeners, a lot of TAG members that are involved in it in some fashion or another, or will be, a great, great opportunity to hear some real objective discussion and some clarity as far as the subject is concerned. We're quickly running out of time, Jim. Maybe we'll get you back again, especially before the actual event regarding the immigration issues. But let's close with a question. I don't want to put you on the spot, but maybe give us an idea of your vision, Paramount's vision for DevOps solutions, and what value that's going to bring to the application development environment in the near future. I mean, is this something is it a fad, a trend, or is it something that's really going to end up being the next generation of what's really happening as far as any technology implementation is concerned?
It's no longer a fad, just like the cloud is no longer a fad. It is something that people need and want to address because they're uncovering the true cost of that. And one of the issues that when you are deploying your applications, you're not just deploying it in your data center anymore. It may be in multiple cloud environments, multiple locations. So being able to provide a DevOps as a service, as a platform, and that's something that we're looking at, investing in, and I know many other people are, is going to give somebody a very defined solution set that is very cost justifiable, but also scalable. If you don't need so much, if you're really coming out with a big new application, rolling stuff out, buy what you need. But if you don't, scale it back. And I think that's going to be one of the big things, because typically in order to do things, people have had to fill up their data center with something to roll out a new application product, and all of a sudden they're going like, I don't need that anymore. So I think this will be a very, very beneficial thing, because when it's going to do the two things we talked about, it's going to solve a problem. I'm going to give my application folks a better environment, and it's going to reduce my costs. And again, that's the only reason people want to do business with anybody anymore.
And also a remarkable business transformation. That's the other. After all said and done, you've got to do all the magic plus literally from a competitive advantage. Every once in a while, got to be the realization of it does impact the bottom line in a lot of different ways, sales included. I think, Jim, it's such a fascinating subject. I'm hoping that we can invite you back. You really gave us some input, some objective observation. Very interesting discussion opening up on this U.S. visa process. Look forward to hearing more about that. But for today, thank you so much for taking time out of what I know is a really busy schedule to join us for a couple of minutes today on Tech Talk.
Well, thanks, Frank. I appreciate it. Look forward to talking to you again. For anybody who might be interested in, they can visit our website, and it's simply ParamountSoft.net. Thank you, and look forward to talking to you again, Frank.